Hello everyone, I'm Hongni here. I'm going to present our work, Twilight Rohingya, the design and evaluation of different navigation controls in a refugee VR environment. Rohingya refugees face critical challenges that scatter resources about food, education, and a good living environment, which impacts their health and well-being. In the prior research, we discovered that the Bangladesh government has portrayed them as militants and self-serving outsiders, and these stigmas make the refugees with noted discrimination and biases. One of our co-authors went to the Rohingya refugee camp in South Bangladesh and took the 360-degree footage to demonstrate their living conditions to the public. Thus, we were motivated to design a VR system to enhance the understanding of refugees and promote empathy towards refugees and their families. According to previous researchers, empathy has been suggested as the understanding of others' perspective and being able to judge and understand the intentions of others. And virtual reality, as the ultimate empathy machine, can enhance empathy for vulnerable populations and reduce implicit bias, such as gender bias and racial bias. In Barnacle's work, they asked the participants to follow a virtual Tai Chi teacher, and the results suggest that putting users in the skin of a black avatar can reduce the implicit racial bias. In our case, we designed a system that allows users to experience refugees' life from the first-person perspective, which can enhance their empathy towards refugees. Prior researchers suggested that 360-degree video has the great impact on understanding the content and making people feel immersive. For example, a VR film about a refugee named Close Over Sidra. It introduced the refugee's life by following a Syrian girl. This work inspired us to present refugees' living conditions through a first-person perspective in VR to enhance people's empathy for refugees. However, unlike the narrative representation of refugees, we adopted the dynamic movement and spatial audio to present panoramic footage with interactions in the VR environment that can evoke empathy with the viewer. In the gaming domain, researchers found that active navigation has better effect on engaging players, such as navigating freely encourages users further explore the virtual environment, and active navigation makes treasure hunting more challenging because of the intensive spatial knowledge acquisition and processing. And it lacks research on different navigation modes in a 360-degree VR environment, so we proposed the hypothesis that active navigation increases people's empathy by providing more spatial details and allowing them to freely explore the provided environment with their own eyes rather than from a third-person perspective. Therefore, our research questions are: firstly, what are the effects of exploring refugee camps freely versus watching sequence-determined clips on participants' empathy towards refugees? Secondly, how does the usability of these two interactions differ in the VR? To answer the research questions, we conducted a between-group design with 36 participants, with the independent variables as active navigation and passive viewing, and dependent variables, compassion scale, and a system usability scale. The design VR environment consisted of 3,060-degree video clips that were shot by one of our authors, We selected 5 locations, for instance, 2 family scenes, a shared kitchen, a playground, and a bridge. The clips documented daily activities in a Rohingya refugee camp, such as climbing hills and playing football. The passive viewing condition played the clips in a predetermined sequence, while the active navigation condition enabled participants to explore the entire VR scene freely. Here is a short video showing our active navigation and passive viewing conditions. We recruited 36 participants for the user study. They were assigned to one of 2 conditions randomly. Participants in both active and passive navigation conditions were a Google Cardboard with a Huawei mobile phone. After experience in the VR environment, participants were asked to fill out a survey and attend a semi-structured interview. In the post-test survey, we included 3 subscales of the compassion scale to measure participants' empathy towards refugees, which are kindness, indifference, and separation, and we used SUS to test the usability of the system we developed. After the post-experience survey, we also designed a semi-structured interview with the topics of aesthetics, affects, focused attention, control, and interest in the virtual environment. Participants scored slightly higher on kindness in the active navigation condition than in the passive condition, with a mean of 4.08 and SD of 0.81, but the difference was not significant, with a t-value of 1.65 and a p-value of 0.1. On the SUS, participants rated the active navigation condition slightly higher than the passive viewing condition, with a mean of 68.4 and an SD of 7.8. As we can see from the left chart, we coded the post-experiment interview data to better understand the effects of different navigation modes on empathy, and we concluded with 3 main themes. Firstly, the sense of immersion is stronger with 360-degree VR videos. Secondly, the experience changed the bias against the refugees. And at last, we found stronger empathy in active navigation mode through the qualitative analysis. With 1 quote from 9 participants of the active navigation condition that I grew up in a poor and undeveloped part of China. Children were not well educated there, and so I care more about their educational opportunities. That means they considered more about the living condition and the future development of individual refugees compared to the participants from passive viewing condition. In summary, we designed and developed a VR prototype with active navigation that presented 360-degree videos about life in refugee camps. We concluded a study to understand how different navigation modes during VR experience influence participants' empathy towards refugees, and our findings show that active navigation had positive effects on empathy for refugees. And our work could encourage researchers to further study empathy for refugees through diverse interaction approaches such as navigation modes, including the tie between immersion and donation behavior. Thus, refugees will receive more attention, and this will enhance recognition and promote the acceptance of refugees and their families. At last, I'd like to mention the acknowledgement to Duke Kunshan University for supporting this research. Thanks for your patience.